Emily Parker did not expect that evening to matter. It felt ordinary, almost forgettable. She left her office in downtown Seattle earlier than usual, her meeting canceled at the last minute. Rain had stopped, the air smelled clean, and for the first time in weeks, her shoulders felt light. She thought of Mark and smiled, imagining a quiet dinner, maybe a shared laugh. Nothing dramatic, just home. When she turned onto their street, she noticed Mark's car already parked in the driveway. That caught her attention. He rarely came home before 7. She checked the time, just after 5. A small knot formed in her stomach, but she ignored it. Maybe he surprised her. Maybe today was one of the good days. She stepped out of her car and walked toward the house they had bought together 10 years ago. White siding, blue door, carefully trimmed bushes. From the outside, it looked like a place where nothing bad could happen. Emily unlocked the door softly, out of habit, as if she did not want to disturb the peace inside. The house was not quiet. She heard voices. At first, she thought it was the television. Then she heard laughter. A woman's laughter. Warm, close, familiar in a way that made Emily's chest tighten. Her shoes were still on, her purse still on her shoulder, but she could not move. The sound came from the kitchen, mixed with the clink of glass and the low sound of Mark's voice. Emily's mind rushed ahead of her heart. She told herself there was a simple explanation. A coworker, a neighbor. Anyone but what her body already knew. She took a step forward, then another. The hallway felt longer than it ever had. Family photos lined the wall, vacations in Oregon, a winter trip to Vancouver, a smiling wedding picture where Mark held her hand like it was the most natural thing in the world. Each step felt heavier than the last. As she reached the edge of the kitchen doorway, the laughter stopped. Mark turned first. His face changed in a second. The smile disappeared. His eyes widened. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. Emily followed his gaze and saw her. The woman stood near the counter, holding a glass of wine. She was about Emily's age, maybe late 30s, with soft brown hair pulled back loosely. She looked comfortable. In Emily's kitchen, too comfortable, like she had been there before. Time slowed. No one moved, no one spoke. Emily felt strangely calm. Her heart beat fast, but her mind was clear. She noticed small details, the way Mark's hand trembled. The way the woman's eyes filled with panic, the open bottle of wine. Emily and Mark usually saved for weekends. "I can explain," Mark finally said, his voice low and unsteady. Emily did not answer. She did not scream or cry. She simply looked at him, really looked at him, and realized she had never seen this version of her husband before. This was not the man who used to bring her coffee in bed or text her silly jokes during work. This was someone else, someone afraid. The woman set the glass down quickly. "I should go," she said, her voice tight. She grabbed her coat from the chair and moved toward the door, avoiding Emily's eyes. As she passed, she whispered, "I'm sorry." It sounded real, but also rushed, like someone trying to escape a fire. The door closed behind her. Silence filled the house. Emily stood in the kitchen, still wearing her coat, still holding her purse. Mark took a step toward her, then stopped, unsure. "How long?" Emily asked, her voice surprised her. It was steady. Mark ran a hand through his hair. "It's not what you think," he said, then stopped himself. He swallowed hard. "Actually, it is." That honesty landed harder than any lie could have. Emily sat down at the table. Her legs felt weak. She did not feel angry yet. She felt empty, like the floor had dropped away beneath her without warning. Mark talked, not fast, not slow. Just enough. He said he had been lonely. He said work stress had pulled him away. He said he felt invisible, like their marriage had become quiet and distant. He said he never planned for it to happen. Emily listened, but his words blurred together. What stayed clear was the sound of his voice, familiar and strange at the same time. She realized he was talking more to ease his own fear than to help her understand. She looked around the kitchen again. This room had held birthdays, late-night talks, and plans for a future that now felt unreal. She wondered how many times that woman had stood where she was standing now. "Do you love her?" Emily asked. Mark hesitated. That pause answered more than his words ever could. "I don't know," he said quietly. Emily stood up. She felt taller somehow, steadier. "I need air," she said. She walked past him, out the front door, and into the cool evening. The sky had darkened, clouds rolling in again. She breathed deeply, trying to ground herself in the present moment. This was real. This was happening. She did not know what she would do next. She did not know if her marriage could survive this. All she knew was that the life she walked into that house believing in no longer existed. And the woman who walked out of it would never be the same again. Emily returned to the house the next morning with a mix of determination and dread. The air was crisp, the sun barely peeking through gray clouds, but her mind was heavy. She had replayed the previous night 1,000 times, the laughter, the glass of wine, the way the woman had looked at her with hurried apology. She needed clarity. She needed answers. More than that, she needed to understand why everything she had believed about her marriage suddenly felt fragile. Mark was already awake, sitting at the kitchen table with a mug of coffee. The house was quiet now, stripped of last night's tension, yet the air still felt thick. He looked at her when she entered, and for a moment, Emily thought she saw shame written across his face. He opened his mouth, then closed it. Words were difficult for both of them. "Emily," he started, voice low. "I didn't expect you to come home early. He trailed off, unsure. She didn't interrupt. She wanted him to finish, wanted the truth without excuses or hesitations. Finally, he told her everything he could. He explained how the loneliness had started slowly, how conversations had become rare, and how small frustrations had grown into a distance neither of them had noticed until it was too late. He admitted that the woman Sarah had offered attention, understanding, and warmth in ways he hadn't realized he was craving. His voice shook, but he made no excuses. He didn't justify the betrayal. He simply spoke of mistakes, human mistakes, and consequences that now surrounded them like a storm. Emily listened, absorbing every word. She didn't react immediately. Anger would have come, perhaps, if her heart hadn't felt so heavy. Instead, she felt a numbness, as if she were watching her life from the outside. Her memories of Mark, their laughter, their shared secrets, the vacations, the quiet nights on the couch collided with this new reality. How could someone she loved be? Someone capable of this? How could someone she trusted let her walk in on such a moment? She asked the questions that burned inside her. How long? Mark's hesitation answered more than words could. Why her? His eyes met hers with a mix of guilt and confusion. "I don't know. It just happened." Each answer felt like a shard of glass. Emily wanted to run, to scream, to cry, but all she could do was sit there, holding herself together with sheer will. Sarah's presence lingered in Emily's mind. That quick apology, the way she had avoided eye contact, the calm yet awkward way she had slipped out of the house it made. Emily wondered if the woman had ever been part of Mark's life before that night, or if it had truly been a fleeting encounter. She imagined conversations Emily would never hear, moments she wasn't part of. And it tore at her chest. Emily's emotions shifted rapidly. One moment she felt fury, imagining Mark's betrayal in vivid detail. The next, she felt sorrow, not just for herself, but for the life they had built, for the quiet love they once shared. She realized she was grieving, not just the act, but the illusion of certainty she had held for years. The person she thought she knew, the life she thought was secure, both felt like shadows now. Mark moved closer, cautiously. He tried to touch her hand, but she withdrew. "I want to fix this," he said. "I know I can't erase what happened, but I want to try." if you'll let me." Emily looked at him, really looked, and saw someone who was both familiar and foreign. He was ashamed, afraid, but also human. She didn't know if she could forgive him yet, but she realized forgiveness wasn't the immediate goal. Understanding was. She needed to understand why love could falter, why people drift apart, why desire could become entangled in ways that left deep wounds. The day passed slowly. Emily moved through the house with careful steps, touching familiar objects as if they held comfort. A framed photo of their wedding made her pause. She remembered the joy, the laughter, the hope. Now it felt bittersweet. She wondered how many other moments had quietly shifted beneath the surface, unnoticed until it became two. Late by evening, Emily had decided she needed space. Mark agreed, understanding the need for time apart without protest. She went for a long walk through their neighborhood, past houses she had once admired, past trees that had watched her grow with Mark. The air was sharp, the wind cold, but it cleared her mind. She thought about herself, about her identity outside, of being Mark's wife. She thought about the woman who had walked into their home uninvited, and how that moment had shattered the world she knew. During the walk, she realized the situation had exposed more than betrayal. It had exposed cracks she had ignored for years. There had been subtle distance, quiet misunderstandings, and unspoken frustrations that now felt painfully clear. Yet in that recognition, she found a small measure of control. She could not change the past, but she could decide what came next. Returning home, Emily and Mark sat in silence again. The tension was still there, but the silence had shifted from accusation to contemplation. They shared a fragile conversation about boundaries, about honesty, about what they wanted and what they could no longer ignore. Emily did not offer forgiveness, but she did offer listening, a small step toward understanding the person she once thought she knew completely. The night ended with Emily in their bedroom alone, staring at the ceiling. Sleep was elusive. Her mind replayed the events of the day and the night before. She thought about what could have been done differently, what she should have noticed, what love meant when it was both tender and fragile. She realized that the story of her marriage had changed, but the ending was not written yet. Somewhere in the quiet of the house, Mark was also awake, reflecting. He wondered if he could repair what was broken, or if the moment of betrayal had already defined their future. Yet, for the first time, both of them realized the future depended not on blame, but on choices they would have to make with honesty, courage, and careful hearts. Emily drifted to sleep with a lingering thought. The hardest part wasn't discovering the betrayal. It was imagining what love could look like after such a fracture, and whether she had the strength to face it. And as the night stretched on, she made a silent promise to herself. She would not let this define her entirely. She would survive this moment, understand it, and decide her next step with clarity and courage. Tomorrow, she knew, would bring another conversation, another revelation, and perhaps the first glimmers of understanding. But for now, she allowed herself a quiet moment of reflection, the calm before a storm of emotions that would challenge every assumption she had about love, trust, and herself.